I'm Phil Gale. Welcome to the programme. A large-scale civilian humanitarian mission has failed to reach its stated goal of delivering symbolic aid to Gaza and of breaking the Israeli siege of the territory. Israeli forces intercepted the last vessel sailing towards Gaza on Friday and have arrested around 450 activists. The convoy had been sailing in international waters, prompting world leaders, rights groups and lawyers to accuse Israel of violating maritime law. Protests have also been staged in cities around the world.
This is the moment the crew of the last boat in the flotilla trying to reach Gaza realise their mission is over. Seconds later, Israeli soldiers board their vessel and order them to put their hands in the air. Then, the live signal is cut. They too are now being detained by Israel and will likely be deported along with the other 470 activists seized after seeking to break the siege and deliver humanitarian aid to Gaza.
This is real abuse. They're committing a crime. The sea belongs to everyone. They have every right to come and to deliver food.
Anger at Israel's interception of the flotilla and the starvation of civilians in Gaza is mounting. The Spanish city of Barcelona is one of several places around the world to stage demonstrations. Several thousand people also spontaneously took to the streets of the Swiss city of Geneva to denounce Israel and show solidarity with Palestinians.
Today we are gathered to demand the release of all activists who were detained by Israel during the non-violent humanitarian mission to the Gaza Strip with humanitarian aid.
In Brazil too, activists and students protested against the interception. They call for the crews of the flotilla to be set free and for Brasilia to sever ties with Israel. Tens of thousands march peacefully through the Italian capital, Rome, although acts of vandalism and some violence were reported after rallies in other cities, including Turin and Milan. Demonstrations have continued across Italy in the form of a general strike called by several unions. Activists there also condemned Israel's treatment of the crew of the flotilla and the Gazan civilians and children being killed every day.
Let's take a closer look at one of those protests in Italy with freelance journalist Alina Trabattoni, who joins us from Rome. Welcome, Alina. What do the protesters there say they want?
Well, they basically say enough is enough. There's been way too much violence, and they're calling on the Italian government to officially recognise the state of Palestine and also to call the violence to confirm that it is genocide. Now, of course, confirming that it is genocide has a whole series of implications in terms of international law. And the Italian government is very much dragging its feet on this. Compared to other European countries, including the UK, Spain, the Netherlands, that have made this affirmation and condemned it for genocide, Italy yet still has to go down this route.
Of the hundreds of activists detained, around 40 are said to be Italian, including some members of parliament. How's that going down?
Well, in actual fact, they've already come back to Italy because behind the scenes, the Italian government has been very active in trying to placate tensions and urging Israel not to take out any force, not to, put anyone in danger, and actually in negotiating the release of the Italians that have been detained in Israel as soon as possible. It was said that they would be returned within 48 hours. The Italian government has said it won't pay for their flights back, but the consulates and the embassies on site will be providing full assistance, and evidently have been, because 4 of the members of parliament have already returned to Rome.
Israel's interception of this flotilla in international waters has been criticised by national leaders around the world. Tell us more about the Italian government's position.
Well, the Italian government position is actually quite difficult because there's an informal poll going round circulating that apparently the government has actually seen and that has caused grave concern within cabinet members that states that 80% of Italians back a firm position in terms of Gaza, in terms of calling the violence third genocide, and in terms of recognizing the state of Palestine. Now, 80% of a population of 60 million is a very large number. It's a huge chunk of public opinion. So that's creating huge domestic pressure on Italian Premier Giorgia Meloni. So far, though, they haven't agreed or decided to pursue the requests of the population. But what the protests are unique because they cut through all different political colors. You have people from the extreme left, from the extreme right. They cut through all swathes of society. You have people in their 70s and their 80s. I even saw someone in their 90s today. You have children, university students. You have managers from multinationals. You have office workers, street cleaners, musicians, artists, the works. So it's very, very, very widely felt. We'll need to see what Italy actually does in terms of concrete action, because the pressure, people tell me, is not going to stop. They're just going to carry on and on until something gives. Because, as one person said, we are the flotilla of the land. They may have detained the seaborne flotilla, but we are here, and we're here in tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions, she said, and they're not going to stop until action is taken.
Thank you for that, journalist Alina Trabattoni in Rome. Well, one of the intercepted boats from that Gaza aid flotilla has now docked in Cyprus. Journalist Nathan Morley in Larnaca told me more.
Well, it's a small craft, a leisure craft, a motorboat. We don't know the name of it, and the Cyprus government haven't told us the name, but our cameras did see its registration, 2966DX. But we can't tell you where it came from. We know it was in waters towards Gaza. We believe it was intercepted. It turned early yesterday afternoon and requested permission to dock at Larnaca here on the east coast of Cyprus late last night. The government approved that, and it is still here in the main dock.
OK, intercepted and turned around then, so not boarded?
We don't believe it was boarded. We understand that it went towards an Israeli patrol and then turned, but we're not absolutely clear of the circumstances of what happened late yesterday afternoon.
What do we know of who's on board?
We know there are 21 passengers. 2 of them are reported to have some kind of chronic health problems. That's what we heard from the government spokesman here. That's the reason they got swift permission to land, in actual fact, because they had requested permission to dock. They said, we've got 2 people on board who are ill. The government said, OK, come in, and they were escorted into Larnaca port at around 10:35 last night. An ambulance was dispatched to the boat. But those 2 people didn't actually leave the boat. They were checked by nurses and are still on board.
The interception of this Gaza aid flotilla by Israel has sparked protests around the world. Has the arrival of this latest boat, is that making big news there?
Yes, it is. It's the main story here. And indeed, the situation in Gaza has been a top story on the island since October 2023. There is a big population of Israelis live here, and there's a large population of Arabs from the Near East live here as well. We saw a demonstration last night in support of Gaza outside the Foreign Ministry. When this boat docked in Gaza, there was a reception committee. They'd heard about it. Some politicians, some activists were outside the gate at Larnaca port applauding them. So this is very much a big story here on the island, and I suspect it will continue to be so.
My understanding is that the boat is now refueling. So what do we know of what the intention of the crew is? To continue or to go back where they came from?
That's a very good question. We're having conflicting reports about this because there was an interview which hit one of the local news media earlier, which said they would be, one of the crew members apparently said they would be returning to Gaza. The other school of thought is that they would be heading towards a nearby destination, possibly the Greek islands or the Greek mainland. But I've heard they are refueling, they have had supplies taken on board, so it is entirely possible that they may try and return to Gaza. We've also heard in the past hour or so that another boat is heading towards Cyprus, and if it gets into Cyprus territorial waters and requests permission to land, the government here have indicated that they will allow it to dock in Larnaca as well.
OK, thanks for talking us through that, Nathan. Nathan Morley, journalist there in Larnaca on Cyprus. Thank you.